This is where it is. It's a better than. Thank you, sir. That is it. Bismillah.
Respected Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Himalayas, Honorary Registrar, Professor Azadi sir, respected Dean School of Life Sciences, Professor Mahotsav sir, respected guest speaker of today's lecture, Professor Ravinder Raina sir, Head Department of Biotechnology and Director of Science Campus, Dr. Amrit Mahotsav sir, Head Department of Botany, Dr. Azadi ma'am, respected faculty members, scholars, students, and participants who have joined us through online. Good morning, Assalamu alaikum. I welcome one and all. This year, we are celebrating the 75th year of independence, and under the aegis of Azadi Amrit Mahotsav, Department of Botany, School of Life Sciences have organized this innovative lecture on medicinal plants and overview for future business development in India by an eminent botanist of the country, Professor Ravinder Raina. Today's lecture has practical importance as well as applicability for the future business development in India, as the World Health Organization have emphasized the need for better utilization of indigenous system medicine based on the locally available plants in the developing countries. The importance of the medicinal plants can be determined by the fact that the herbal medicines serve the healthcare needs of about 80% of the world population. India, with approximately 8% of the world biodiversity, including large genetic diversity with medicinal property, has the potential to become a major global player in the market for medicinal plant-based herbal formulations and products. To capitalize on the expanding opportunities in the national and international market, we need to focus on scientific methods of cultivation, harvesting, processing, marketing practices involved in the entire supply chain of medicinal plants on a sustainable basis. Now, I would like to request Head Department Botany, Dr. Azadi ma'am, for the welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Central University of Kashmir, and the chief guest of this occasion, Professor Prof. Worthy Registrar, Central University of Kashmir, our guest of honor, Professor Mahotsav, respected Dean School of Life Sciences and Chairman of the session, Professor Amrit Mahotsav, revered invited speaker, Professor Ravinder Raina, respected Head Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Amrit Mahotsav, and all respected faculty members, their scholars, students, ladies and gents, both online and offline. Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. I feel elated and honored to welcome our chief guest, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Farooq Ahmad Shah Sahab, and at the same time, I extend my thanks for accepting this offer to grace this occasion, and that too on a very short notice. Sir, you are always a driving force behind our all activities. I am very enthusiastic to welcome our guest of honor, Worthy Registrar, Professor Mahotsav Sahab, and thank him for being with us on this occasion to honor us. Professor Zargar Sahab is ever ready to help us in all our endeavors. I feel humbled to take the opportunity to welcome Chairman of the session, Dean School of Life Sciences, Professor Mahotsav Sahab. I thank you, sir, for accepting this honor and for rendering help for smooth conduct of this program. I'm extremely happy and elevated to welcome our honored guest and invited speaker, Professor Ravinder Raina Sahab, to whom I owe my thanks for accepting our invitation. Professor Raina is son of the soil. After completing his studies from University of Kashmir, he served 3 prestigious Indian universities in various higher capacities and has remained a leading medicinal plant researcher and expert in India. I wholeheartedly welcome Dr. Amrit Mahotsav, former Head Department of Botany, Central University of Kashmir and presently Head Department of Biotechnology and Director Science Campus, who has been instrumental in developing the Department of Botany. We consider him to be a part of the department because of his contribution. I welcome all faculty members of School of Life Science, scholars and students of School of Life Science, and all those faculty members, scholars, students who are present online. Well, dear audience, India harbors a wide range of medicinal and aromatic plants, mostly used in Ayurvedic, Unani, Siddha, homeopathic, allopathic, and other alternate medicinal practices, such as folk medicine, home remedies, household remedies, naturopathy, Amchi system, tribal medicines, etc., etc. India uses herbal drugs, utilizing hundreds of plants in different formulations. In last 75 years, the basic active principles have been isolated from large number of plants. So, in this context, it's also important to protect this green gold of our country for its sustenance and its availability for future India. The knowledge in this field would enable us to introduce timely cultivation in necessary cases, that's endangered species, and maintain the required balance between proper sustainable use and exploitation of limited natural resources, as the medicinal plants and plant-based drugs have got a great commercial value and thus has a great scope for entrepreneurship development, for economic upliftment for future India. It is in this backdrop that today's lecture has been organized on the topic medicinal plants and overview for future business development in India. And the speaker is a well-known botanist having a great expertise on medicinal plants of India. I hope it will be highly beneficial for all of us, especially the young students and the scholars, for developing the future economy of the India. These younger generations, they can think more on the upliftment of the future economy through the medicinal plant cultivation and trade. With these remarks, I welcome all dignitaries, faculty members, scholars, students, and guests from all parts of India for being with us at this moment, either online or offline. Before finishing, I may remind this august gathering that this invited lecture has been organized under the banner of Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. Thank you very much.
And thank you, ma'am, for welcoming the respected dignitaries. Now I would like to request our worthy registrar, sir, Professor Mahotsav, sir, for his speech letters.
Thank you. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Ahmed Shah, the worthy Dean of the school, Professor Yusuf Saab, my worthy colleagues from the Department of Botany, Biotechnology, Zoology, School of Life Sciences, the expert of the day, Professor Ravinder Raina, and above all, my dear students, scholars. Very good morning to all of you, and Assalamu alaikum. Well, at the outset, I joined Professor Azadi in welcoming the son of the soil, Professor Ravinder Raina. He has been an alumnus of the University of Kashmir, and so are majority of the teachers and alumnus of the University of Kashmir. We understand the importance of the lecture, particularly vis-a-vis the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, Because we have been saying and we have been often repeating that Jammu and Kashmir is a rich reservoir of biodiversity and a lot of medicinal plants which are having a potential or which has yielded potential. They trace back its origin to the valley of the Jammu and Kashmir. I understand that India is growing, and on its 75th year of independence, which we are currently commemorating, or which we are felicitating today, or which we are today organizing under the banner of the Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. India is set its goals and targets. For another 15 years, it has set its targets in such a way that it will emerge as one of the leading countries and one of the powers in the world, both on the economic front as far as on improving the indigenous materials or exports or creation of the wealth, and also on acting on a number of social, political issues. And in this stride, the economy of the country has to be supplemented with newer ideas. And it has to be supplemented with the internal resources. And which better resource other than the natural resources for which India is laden with? And one of the natural resources is these medicinal plants. As we have been saying, that with the emergence of the disease, with the emergence of ailments, the solutions are required. And the solutions lie within the nature itself. And we have seen a number of bioactive principles having the potential to be tapped as a possible biomedia. We have seen certain plants, like for example, I have been working on Podophyllum xanthoma. This is a plant with a tremendous potential. We have, there are a number of other plants that have been worked out. But the issue here remains that we have been doing it in silos. This silo nature, working independently, this has to be shied away. We have to shy away from it. We have to move away from it and move into a collaborative kind of state, wherein we need to just focus on unrevealing the true potential of this sector of this field. So for that purpose, the institutions of higher learning have a special role to play. They can act as bridges. They can act as connectors between the different organizations. The organizations could be which are totally research-oriented organizations. Then they have to also act as a bridges between the research groups within and outside the institutions of higher learning and the industries. Because ultimately, when we will make a connect, then we will be ultimately leading it to a potential business options. The other aspect that has to be taken care by the institutions of higher learning and the governments is that there is a plundering of this wealth. We should not reach a day when we will not be having these natural resources with us. We have to take care, and we have to just take care by which we are able to preserve and propagate this natural wealth. One is preservation, another one is propagation also. So we will have to just ensure that how this natural wealth can be reproduced. On that front also, some efforts and initiatives are driven. I presume I might not be entering into all the quagmires of this lecture because Professor Ravinder Raina, he is the best expert in this context. But I would request the students and the scholars just to open their minds and interact thoroughly with the expert, because there are a lot of things that are lurking in your mind. Don't hesitate in agitating your minds so that you will be getting the best answers from the expert. Professor Raina, I'm thankful to you for having accepted our request on a short notice. And I'm extremely thankful for your benign presence with us. We look forward to see you more with us, being your state, which is your parental state, which is your state alma mater state, which is your own state. We look forward to see you more often, but not online, but physically, so that our students will be benefiting more and more from you. I wish this lecture and the students all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom and value addition to this lecture by emphasizing on the importance of medicinal plants on Indian economy and emergence of diseases having solution in natural way by using the bioactive molecules. This area, if explored, has the potential for the upliftment of the society. Now, I would like to thank you again, sir. Now, I would like to request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Ahmed Shah, sir, for his presidential address.
Thank you very much for inviting me. My Vadi Registrar, Professor Mohammed Abdul Zargar Sahab, Dean School of Life Sciences, Professor Mohammed Yusuf, Senior Faculty of the University, Professor Azadi, others, especially Dr. Amit Mahotsav, my other colleagues from the School of Life Sciences, dear research scholars from the School of Life Sciences, and all my dear students, and especially Professor Ravinder Raina, the expert speaker for the day. A very good morning, good afternoon to all of you. It's my proud privilege to be a part of this function. In fact, this is an extension lecture being delivered by an expert on the field, Professor Ravinder Raina. I have heard his name, but we have never met. Today we are meeting here online. He's here virtually with us, and I hope in the days to come we'll be meeting each other physically also. Having seen his, the experience, the amount of experience and the amount of expertise he has on the field, I'm sure that this session is going to be a very fruitful session for all of us over here. As told already, that this is an event that is being organized under the aegis of the Azadi Amrit Mahotsav, where the nation is celebrating the 75th year of its independence. Let me tell for the information of the honorable guests that the university, like any other institution in the country, has scheduled a series of events being organized under this campaign of Azadi Amrit Mahotsav. And every day, over the last 3, 4, 5 days, every day up to 15th of August, 3, 4, 5 events are being organized. And I'm sure that the current one is one of the most, appropriately thought out programs, because it's not only, it not only touches upon a very important issue, that's the plant medicine and its usage for the human welfare, but also it's going to open some doors for the people for the young students and scholars of the School of Life Sciences, and show them some way forward as to how to carry forward not only their research, what they have studied, but also how to earn their livelihood in a more decent way. I will not take much of a time because I want that more and more time should be spared for the speaker to develop on this subject so that the students, the audience may have some good, something to take from this session so that they can really enjoy and they can really utilize the research, the output of this session. So we know that there has been a change over the last some years, especially with regard to many things as far as life is concerned. And one important area wherein this change has been witnessed is the emphasis from chemical-based things to organic kind of things. And this is the area where there has been a lot of people have had their choices changed from allopathics to homeopathy, allopathics to naturopathy, because it's believed that since the body is composed of some cells, and cells are basically they have a process, and that process is a natural process. There are some internal antibodies that give a boosted immunity or make up the immunity for the body, and it's not really good for the body mechanism to have this immunity enhanced, have this immunity functional by injecting or giving some chemical kind of things. But it's rather better to see that how naturally we can have those kind of elements in the body, in the cells, which can give a natural fight to these to any kind of thing that disturb the homeostasis in the body. So that's why there has been a huge shift as far as the emphasis from chemical-based ingredients to the allopathic, to the homeopathic, to naturopathic kind of things. And one of the areas that emphasizes this shift is the belief and more usage of the medicinal plants. The plants for using as the medicines. And now there have been history in some historically important civilizations of the world, including China, including South Asia, and including India also, wherein we have a huge, rich history where plants have been used as medicines. And I remember till late 60s, when I was a kid in late 60s, I still remember whenever I would fall sick, I would fall ill, my parents would take to some local person who was well versed with using these medicinal plants. And one of the in our neighborhood, one of the person who would deal with these medicines was known as Gupinath. So Gupinath, I still remember his face. I still remember, I suppose, Professor Afzal, because we would live in the neighborhood. I suppose he also knows. I still remember his face. That how he would prepare use those herbs and medicinal plants, and then on the spot give out some formulations either to drink or to take to eat, and how things would normalize in a couple of days to the most. And now we see that the medicines, the allopathic medicine that we take, it has numerous other interactions, it has numerous other side effects. Recently, I was not feeling well, and I had to take a very most commonly used medicine, that is ciprofloxacin. And believe me, I had so much of skin rashes that I had to consult another doctor for treating those rashes. A dermatologist was to be consulted, and still I'm still suffering from. So this is what I want to say, that if it cures some, no doubt that allopathy has a huge following, it's a huge impact because research has shown. But it at the same time has other problems and other issues simultaneously creating for all of us. And that is why people have now started shifting their priorities from allopathy to homeopathy, to naturopathy, and to plant medicine and all that. So there cannot be a better time than this to have this lecture organized. And I have been repeatedly telling to my students that I have seen another shift in the education, especially with regard to biotechnology, with regard to animal sciences, zoology, and botany. That not only that research is the focal area, but also the business and sustainability is another area. And that is how this session is going to deal with this in a blended way. Not only that it's research based, but also it tells you something about how to take it up as a livelihood, as a source of livelihood for future, because it tells you what is the potential of business as far as this field of activity is concerned. And I'm sure that the scholars, the young guys who are now the students, tomorrow when they go and go out in search of their livelihood, decent livelihood, some of them may find a way in having this as a source of as a source for entrepreneurship, and they may take up this as a professional in their life. And I'm sure that the Department of Botany, under the aegis of the School of Life Sciences, will keep up this good work, and they will keep on organizing such good events in the future as well. With these words, I take pride in welcoming you, sir, Professor Ravinder Raina, and acceding to our request for interacting with young students. I'm sure that today you are virtually with us. I'm sure that in the times to come, in the near future, you'll be spending some moments in person, physically, with our young guys, the young students. I hope that my students, on the other hand, will also enjoy interacting with you, and there will be a lot of things they will carry home once they have attended this lecture. With these words, I once again welcome you all, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this function. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the words of wisdom and highlighting the importance of this lecture in the academics and research. Sir, your emphasis on the change of medicine system and its role in modern life by more usage of plant-based medicine will make added value addition to this lecture. Thank you again, sir. Now, I feel honored and privileged to welcome the guest speaker, who is also the son of the soil, Professor Ravinder Raina, sir. Professor Ravinder Raina has done his MSc, MPhil, PhD from University of Kashmir, Srinagar. Professor Raina has 37 years of teaching and research experience in the area of medicinal plants, general botany, minor forest products, and horticulture. Professor Raina worked in three well-reputed universities in India. He held the position of principal scientist in Dr. Y.S. Parmar University of Horticulture and Forestry, Himachal Pradesh. He worked in this institution for about 27 years. He also had the opportunity to work as professor and head School of Biological and Environmental Science, Sharon University, Himachal Pradesh. Professor Raina also served as professor in MET Food and Agriculture Foundation, MET University, Noida, from where he superannuated very recently. Currently, Professor Raina is founder member and managing director of Dr. Raina's Natural and Education Consultancy. His research contributions are: he has made significant contribution in the area of herbal plant domestication, characterization of pharmaceutically important bioactive molecules, value addition, knowledge empowerment of farmers, growing herbs, intellectual property rights, policy planning, etc. He has made noteworthy contribution to a number of specific herbal plants used in the traditional Indian system of medicine. Professor Raina also had made some inventions regarding three processes of production of eco-friendly aromatic herbal green, pink, yellow colors, which has been patented with Indian Patents Office. These colors have used in cosmetics as food colorant and salad dressing. Professor Raina had more than 10 externally funded research projects from ICAR, DBT, NMPB, HT, SFD, ICFRE. He continues to be a member of some important national committees such as Ministry of Ayush, Government of India, Quality Council of India. He also had the honor of being member of task force committees of DBT, ICFRE, Government of India, and a number of other prestigious committees. Professor Raina has delivered more than 30 national invited talks. He is a life member of reputed professional bodies. He has more than 100 research papers in journals of international repute, 22 popular articles, 16 book chapters, and 3 added books also illustrated. Now, I would like to request our Dean School of Life Sciences, who is also the chairperson of this session, for the proceeding of this lecture.
Thank you. I would like to welcome and invite Professor Ravinder Raina ji for his valuable lecture on the medicinal plants and their utilization for the future business. He is the expert in medicinal plants, and I hope that all of us will be benefited by his lecture, his suggestions, and we will be planning future for our future strategy on the medicinal plants, and our research scholar will learn a lot for the future strategy on the medicinal plant and the research work on these aspects. So most welcome, Professor Ravinder Raina ji. Please give your valuable lecture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. In fact, for the last 30 minutes, when I was listening to the speakers, I was feeling a lot of nostalgia, because when being the son of the soil, and then I'm addressing and giving an invited lecture, I personally felt that I'm not giving something and invited. This is something which is very passionate to me and which I want to share with my own people. This is the kind of feeling that was getting generated in my mind. So I will not call it I'm delivering an invited lecture, but my students, my colleagues, friends, and the Honorable Vice Chancellor and the Registrar and the Dean, Dr. Kamli, they are so good in their conviction for the betterment of the society, that I also feel like contributing, giving my share of my experience, so that ultimately we can collectively benefit this nation and benefit this region tremendously. See, when we talk about coming to the topic itself, because many things I expect many, especially my young students, whom I will basically take as my own students also. In that what are medicinal plants, we have to understand certain things. If we compare the concept of medicinal plants, which was say 50 years before, 100 years before, and what is it now? The earlier the concept of a medicinal plant was something which can give us a therapeutical benefit. So for that, somebody has to fall sick and go to a bad hakim, and he would make a concoction formulation of the herbs, and like worthy Vice Chancellor narrated his own experience. I have also gone through that experience. So that would be the end of it, because we will get cured, and then we'll forget about who was that hakim, what was he doing, why was he so sick. There were many questions asked. But slowly and gradually, with the advancement of knowledge, research, and our understanding of life processes more and more, we have all realized that a medicine can work only when we take it in the right spirit, which is that we have to understand first the life itself. So what is my and your basic instinct? My basic and your instinct is survival. We all want to survive. We all want to live long, and we all want to overcome disease. When that is the concept that we want to survive, so when we have to survive, we have to overcome the disease. And if we have to overcome this disease, then that takes us to two concepts. One is the therapeutical and another is the preventive. I don't want to do anything which will make me fall sick. And if we look at our own kitchen, the kind of ingredients that go into a kitchen, the kind of dishes that we prepare, they are basically made with the purpose of providing us a prophylactic advantage, a preventive advantage, besides the nutritive advantage. I always say that the biggest pharmacy of our world is our kitchen. Because the basis of your and my health basically starts from kitchen. What gets prepared, what gets supplied from the kitchen is going to impact positively or negatively my health. And number two, I always say the greatest pharmacist in the world is our mother, because she prepares all those things in the right way, the right proportion. She knows the tricks of the trade. When to put the spices, when to put the salt, when to boil, when to fry, and how to cover and where to store. So that is the concept of medicine that we have. And over a period of time, now the preventive role of these plants has come into more and more focus. No longer it's a therapeutical only that somebody will fall sick, go to a doctor, and he will or she will provide a medicine, even if it is herbal based, and get cured. Now it is more preventive. And because of this preventive nature, most of the spices that we consume in our food, be it turmeric, be it chilies, be it cumin, all those things, we all know what spices we use. Why do we use them? We don't use them only for adding color or taste. We basically use them because of the prophylactic advantage that they provide us. That is why they have become part of our diet, and that is why we don't even bother. We cannot expect a tasty dish without the use of turmeric. We don't expect a dish without ginger. We don't expect a dish without chilies, whether it's red or green, whatever it is, or different spices. Because without that, we don't feel good. Our digestion gets impaired. Our immunity suffers. Our circulation suffers. So many things happen if we don't take this food. So it has become part of our knowledge. Has become part of our lifestyle. And this is all thanks to our forefathers who had this knowledge, and slowly and gradually, which has permeated to us and is going to permeate downwards in the next generation. Now the concept, the way humans have evolved, that anything and everything that we do has got a business angle to it, a commercial angle. Our measure of valuing a service or valuing a product or valuing a process is more commercial oriented. That how much money it can generate for me, how much business it can generate for me, how much bank balance it can generate for me, and that is how I value, or that is how I consider that as effective or fruitful. So I have made my talk in a such way to understand the business aspects of what medicinal plants said. Now, assuming that we all understand that if medicinal plants are creating so much of immense business, they must be providing us definitely some health advantage also. It's not just for the heck of it. We are using medicinal plants, and it does not give us any advantage, does not provide us any benefit. So what kind of a business it will generate? So our young friends, the new generation, who is more entrepreneurial than me and you have been in my lifetime, would like to venture into their own entrepreneurship. But before venturing into those, they need clarity on several accounts. That am I going to sustain myself economically? Will I be able to find customers, clients for that? Because when you the general concept that we all have about this traditional system of medicine is that it is generally unorganized. But from being unorganized, can we organize some organized business out of it, or is there some business potential in it? And what is the status of business potential in my country and the international community as such at the world level? So my talk would be basically focused on that, and then of course it will be a freewheeling kind of a discussion, and you can come in, anyone can come in at any stage of my lecture, and no issues on that. So just give me a moment to share my screen. Oh, the host had disabled my screen sharing. Can this be allowed?
इसको screen share
Screen share करो.
I think it's allowed. It is able, sir.
No, it is still coming as hosted disabled participant screen sharing. It's still coming at on my screen.
जरा इसको देख लो.
I think now. Is my screen visible? Is my screen visible?
Yes.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, certainly.
Visible, sir.
No, this is the title, as you all know, and medicinal plants, an overview for future business development. Some of the slides I'll be just rushing through to keep some connectivity in my lecture. Now we all know a medicinal plant. What's a medicinal plant? The definition of a plant it is any plant which in one or more of its organs contains substances that can be used for prophylactic and or therapeutical purposes, or which are precursors for the synthesis of useful drugs. And they have been used in traditional medicine practices in prehistorical times. They synthesize metabolites for defense against diseases and herbivorous mammals. And then there are numerous phytochemicals with potential or established biological activity that have been identified in the last more than 100 years in different countries. So when we talk about what the status of medicinal plants in India, we all know that we are bestowed with about 20 agroecological zones. We are one of the 17 mega biodiversity countries in the world, and about 7% of the world biodiversity lies in our country. There are about 17,000 flowering plant species, and there are about 9,000 species which are used in Indian system of medicine and folk medicine. And about 1,172 species are in trade, of which 242 species with consumption of more than 100 metric tons per year are in trade. And 40% of the species in high demand, they are sold through cultivation, and which cover an area of about 0.3 million hectares. And we have a large network of institutions and universities that are involved in medicinal plant R&D work. Now, when we come to the global trade, and this global trade is expected to be about 5 trillion by 2050, and has an annual growth of 7%. This is the trend that has been seen in the last more than 3 decades at the consumption, the global trade, because these figures are very important, because these figures will give confidence to our budding entrepreneurs to venture into this field. So when it comes to demand in the India, and there are about 2,500 plant species that use all the codified systems of medicine practice. Ayurveda about 1,500 species, Siddha about 1,100 species, Unani about 500 species, Sovarig about 250 species, Homeopathy 466 species, and Allopathy 192 species. So, whatever concept we may have, the allopathy, the so-called Western medicine, also needs plants because many of their secondary metabolites or the biomolecules, they come from plants. So that is our strength. And when it comes to foreign trade, India, the most authoritative figures are known, available to me up to 2014-15 only. So if we compare those figures, that in 2014-15, there was an annual average increase of 11% exports. And of course, there was an increase in imports also, but only 7%. The Ayush sector is the only sector or one of the very few sectors in the entire Indian economy which has a positive balance of international trade. We export more than we import. That gives the strength. That gives us strength in two ways. One is that we have material to export, number one. Number two, that means there's international demand. We cash it on that. Now, when we talk about those 242 plant species, which has an annual demand of more than 100 tons of raw material annual, about 114 of these species come from forests, and out of which 36 are Himalayas. And since we come from hilly state, Kashmir, we know our strength is Himalayas, and 36 of the species, they come from the Himalayas. Then 59 species come from wasteland. From cultivation, we get 54 species raw material, and we have to import 15 species like mulhati, liquor, which does not grow here well. Indian herbal market, what is the scope and the canvas of Indian herbal market? It is very diverse. ASUH, Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, and homeopathy formulation. We have proprietary and ethical over-the-counter medicine. Herbal cosmetics, a very significant emerging area. Herbal cosmetics, most of us have already switched to herbal cosmetics than the synthetic cosmetics. Herbal teas, functional foods, nutraceuticals. This is a new, especially those who can afford and those who have the knowledge. They have shifted. They have given up the normalcy, the camellia silences. Now shifted to herbal teas, the functional foods and nutraceuticals. Then, of course, extracts, phytochemicals, resins and gums, another sector where medicinal plants are in demand. Flavors and fragrances. Most of our perfumes and aromas, they come from plants. Aromatic oils, aromatherapy. Culinary herbs and spices. We generally don't take culinary herbs and spices as medicinal plants. It's a very surprising. Like when we talk about medicinal plants, we talk about chlorophyll and susurial and like that, but we don't talk about turmeric. We don't talk about ginger because we classify them separately as spices. So as I said at the beginning, that spices are nothing but medicinal plants, are also medicinal plants, and since we need them in larger proportions, we need to use them continuously. So that is why they have become part of our diet. So that is the only difference. They are there because of their therapeutical or prophylactic advantage. And veterinary herbal products. This is another area which is emerging very important and very vigorously on the business scenario, especially because now whether it is the cow-based milk and ghee, or these are these eggs. Now they are being claimed that the cow or the hen or the chicken, they have been fed on herbs, on medicinal plants. So this sector, these medicinal plant raw material, is now catering to that sector also, although that may be a very small sector. But then it is a growing sector because when more and more people will become aware, then there will be more and more demand for organic management of poultry or organic management of dairy, where the feed also has these medicinal substances. I know in many of the dairies, one of the important ingredient of the cattle diet is asparagus racemosus shatavari. Lepidium stivum is another very important ingredient of their diet. Like these poultry, they are being fed on ossimum leaves. They are being fed on stevia leaves. They are being fed on many other such herbs, which I don't know how much of an advantage they give it to the poultry, but some effect definitely transforms into those eggs, which ultimately we consume. So this veterinary herbal product has emerged of late, of course, and very another important sector which has a demand for these medicines. So, what is the potential? Of India as far as this sector is concerned. These are very remunerative substitute for traditional. Gone are the days when we would talk about, or we would say that the biggest problem facing the medicinal plants is the market. Now, I say it is true partially. It is true to the extent that when we are talking generically, but when we are talking about specifically, there's no such issue, because just like we might choose a vegetable crop or a cereal crop with an established demand, same way we have to choose the medicinal plant for growing. So it's not only going to give us a higher price, a higher return than our traditional crops. It also provides a tool for multi-story forest development. You and me belong to hilly states, and where forest development is ingrained into our policy plan. So, if we are using medicinal plants in such a way, which will also bolster the sustainability, sustainable forest development, so we have the advantage. We have become a world leader due to comparative advantage in climate conditions. So much diverse climatic conditions. Almost every type of climate is present in this part of the country, and so we can cater to the herbal and we can cater to demand in any part of the world. And we have very strong traditional knowledge, whether it's Ayurveda, or Unani, or Siddha. We are very, very strong in that. And we have scientific capabilities also. Because the challenge that is being faced by this industry internationally is that they say that most of our traditional therapies, they are not clinically validated. But we all know, you only know, that now the situation is different. Many of the traditional therapies, now we have a clinical support for them, because we have a proliferating scientific capabilities also manned by scientific people. And this has the sector to give sustainable livelihood, especially to tribals. And above all, what I claim, what I say, that it these plants, because when we critically choose any of these flora, any of these species from the diverse diaspora of these medicinal plants, even in the extreme climatic conditions, we have an answer to agriculture in extreme climatic conditions. In different climatic conditions, like Isabgol in Rajasthan does very well. Sena in Tamil Nadu does very well. Aconitum and Sasuria lapa in high altitude areas. These are the specific areas where only Akot and Atish, Aconitum and Sasuria can grow. So areas, high altitude areas of Himalayan states of J&K or Himachal or Uttaranchal, where no other traditional crop can grow, but Atish and Kut grows very well. Tamil Nadu, Sena, we are world exporters in Isabgol and Sena. The largest exporter in world is India, thanks to to Isabgol revolution from Gujarat and Afghanistan, and Sena cultivation in Tamil Nadu. So that is another strength. So this is a data which I have to, we will have to try to understand the meaning of this data, is that this shows the value addition, because when we are trying to understand the entrepreneurship options, the business opportunities in future India, we have to consider value addition as an integral part of our policy planning and our strategy. And this data, this is an FAO World Bank data, which says that if you compare the commodity price at the international level per ton, and if we compare the commodity, these are herbal commodities, and in herbal commodities means whether it's a herbal raw material or a herbal value-added product, whether it's from China or India, the average value is about $1,500 per ton. But whereas on the other side, if we compare the same commodity or coming from USA, Singapore, Germany, Hong Kong, like that, it is 8,000, 7,000, 5,000, 4,000 US dollars per ton. Now, this is because India or China or these developing countries, they basically deal in raw material only, and that too raw material of wild origin is exported. And that is why we are not getting much of a remuneration. But the moment we go for value addition, the returns would significantly. If we compare the world average, which is about 2,000 US dollars per ton, we still are far lower as compared to the world average. So whatever entrepreneurship we have to think, value addition has to be considered prominently in our planning and strategy. Now, again, a boost of a figure that when it comes to market scenarios, 2017, no, 2017-18 is very important to understand. And I have deliberately taken this figure because this 2017 and 2018 is the time, the pre-pandemic COVID time. So when everything was normal, we had no idea about pandemic, how it is going to impact our thinking and our well-being. And during that time, India exported about 330 million US dollars worth of raw materials, which was a 14% growth over 2016 and 17. It was the previous year's increase was 14%. And when we talk about the value-added products during the same year, the value-added products grew at a rate of about 12% over the previous. So the demand for herbs and the value-added product is gradually increasing in foreign countries, especially in European and other developed countries. Now look at what happened during 2019 and 20 when we were struck with the pandemic. The export surged about 45%. The medicinal plant in 2019 it was about 4.2 billion rupees, and now it is expected to be about 14 billion by 2030, which is at a compounded annual growth rate of 38%. We are now anticipating and expecting. And the export value of Ayurvedic and herbal products amounted to about 539 million from India in 2021. These are very healthy figures. We don't know. The total world trade is about 120 billion, and the overall Ayush exports have reached 18 billion from 3 billion before 2014. 6 times growth in almost 8 years. And then when it comes to the cultivation, because we all know all this raw material has to come from cultivation, and cultivation has to be strengthened in the right perspective, The cultivation of medicinal herbs like Shankpushpi, Atis, Kot, Putki, Kapikachlu, and Karanj are changing the Indian agrarian Ayurvedic scene and would empower the farmers with high income. Add to this ashwagandha. There are now exclusive farms and acreages which are only under ashwagandha, atish, kot, kutki, kapikachlu, karan, and other species. And during 2019, there was a huge supply-demand gap of medicinal plant raw materials. The demand for high-value medicinal plants increased by 50%, while the availability declined by 26%. So this tells a lot of scope for cultivation, leading to increased habitat degradation and levels of overexploitation because the demand was so much, the supply was faltering. So people, all those traders, middlemen, pharmaceutical, herbal industries, they somehow tried to meet the demand and destroyed habitations for a very large. And even the road development in the Himalayas, what has been assessed now, that the road development have led to the destruction of flora in the Himalayas and remote areas, and also decreased the availability of 65 species. About 10% of the total species, there is decreased availability, and the reasons are the road development and the infrastructure development in the remote areas and many of the species are not become critically endangered, vulnerable, barely threatened. No, okay, leave that aside. Keep that in mind. That whenever if we have to set up a business on herbal sector, in the herbal sector, we have to have certain clear-cut ideas in our mind, which is that we should have clear motivation for which we want to start and develop it, what we want to do and why we want to. And we have to train our willingness to work on our own, be prepared to assume your own ideas and action, because ultimately when it comes to business or entrepreneurship, ultimately the whole baby is yours. Whether it is the idea or the action and the implementation has to be your own, and we have to organize a flexible work schedule. And but we, although that is generally said, then we are our own boss. But we have to prepare to work longer. We will have to rough it out, work hard. And most importantly, what I personally feel, see, we have to have a very clear idea of our customer before venturing or launching a business. Unless we have a very clear idea about the customers who are going to buy our product and who they are and what we can sell, only then we should venture into what think of business. And of course, we have to correctly evaluate our financial resources, equipment, workforce, and time. That has to be kept in mind. Now, beyond that, another thing that we all have to keep in mind. Now, when we talk about medicinal plant-based enterprises, generally in the hilly states, especially when we talk about hilly states, we immediately focus on cultivation. Now, with my about more than almost 4 decades of experience in this sector, I personally feel that that should not be the only venture area to do something in this. And I have listed these 6 P's, and one can venture with any of these. It's not necessarily we have to venture in all these P's. It can be 1 or 2 or combination depending on our strength, capacity, and clientele that we have in mind, which is a production, of course, cultivation and sourcing. Another would be processing. A processing, when we talk about value addition, local, industrial, whatever it is, we do a processor does not need to be a product cultivator. Product development, processing and product development, and that is the consumable. The processing generally does not mean we have produced a consumable, because consumable product is not only the active content, A consumer product is how you deliver that active content to the consumer. So that is a consumer. So whether you want to make it into a tablet or a syrup or in a vial or in whatever way. So we can develop our entrepreneurship into making the final consumable product. Packaging. Many of you would be surprised why I'm bringing packaging, storage and labeling. This is the most difficult part of this whole. Because generally when we talk about herbs, we talk about production, processing, product development, but we never talk much about packaging. So this packaging is so critical to the shelf life and the quality maintenance of these herb products that up till the stage we come to the packaging, we never consider what kind of packaging we should. And then the labeling, what should we write on the label? And labeling does not mean only what it should be, what we have to write. I have now ventured from my academic career. Now I have also become an entrepreneur in some ways, and we are trying to. We are in a stage to launch our products very soon. And for the last 15 or days or 3 weeks, we are only discussing the label size, because the label size should match the bottle. And depending upon the bottle, whether it's a small bottle or a big bottle, the labeling content have to be accordingly adjusted. So it becomes a challenge. So packaging, what kind of a packaging should it have? Should we store and sell it in a plastic bottle, PET bottle, or a glass bottle, or an aluminum container, or any other container? That has to be considered together with the kind of product that we are. Then promotion, marketing and branding is very important. Today, nothing sells just generically. It is a brand that. So you have to brand yourself. And people need to know who this brand is and what is the authenticity of this brand. The promotion is very important. Unless you promote yourself and unless you promote your company, unless you promote your product, nobody is going to come forward and buy. Then policy, strategizing market. Now, see, when we say that who are your consumers going to be, we need to have a very clear idea about it. The reason is it's not only that who will buy my ashwagandha or who will buy my aromatic. See, you have to meet certain geographical regulations. So if you are entering into into export sector, say for instance, just giving an example. Now, exports are not very easy when it comes to medicinal plant exports, because when we are exporting, what we are exporting, suppose if we want to export Britannia somnifera, ashwagandha. Now, for us, ashwagandha is very important Ayurvedic plant. It has so many medicinal properties. We all know all this. But if I want to export it to a particular country which does not recognize Ayurveda, which does not recognize traditional system of medicine, then I have to export it under a different category, not under the category of a drug, if I still want to continue with it. So exporting is not preparing a product for you for export. Exporting is preparing a product to meet the importing standards of that importing country. So we have to strategize market, because everywhere there are some policy regulations. So we have to know those, what are the policies, whether they are national and whether they are international. Even many of you who cannot do production or processing or product can start a consultation in policy, because this is the least known aspect to a medicinal plant. Because policy, because everything, custom regulations, the local area, when you want to transport it from one state to another state, one has to have an idea about what are the questions that can be asked at the border. So, and one can do a consultation in this policy structure also. So, medicinal plant enterprise will have these 6 P's, and any of these P's one can start venture. Now, this is more or less a similar kind of what I said earlier, that farmers they offer us several opportunities. They can be put in rotation or as intercrops with cereals and vegetable crops to enhance per unit area return. We can put up processing facilities in aromatic plant growing areas. The production of truthfully labeled seeds and other proposals can be another venture. Companies or industry requiring quality raw material of MAP in bulk are coming forward for cultivation, promoting it through contractual cultivation. So we should remain on the lookout of such opportunities. And we can also provide technical guidance and consultancy to farmers by the qualified entrepreneurs, establishing testing facilities, agricultural extracts. And when it comes to the global opportunities, or global opportunities in herbals are immense, starting with phytopharmaceuticals, the plant-based drugs containing isolated pure active compounds. We can go into medicinal, botanical, dietary supplements, where we'll be mostly dealing with raw materials, and nutraceuticals. Now, in the latest, many of you must be knowing, post-pandemic, this moringa drumstick has emerged very significantly on the nutraceutical. There's so much of trade and demand going all around, and that for moringa, I mean, people have started raising orchards of moringa. So the regions in some of the lower altitude regions of Kashmir can support moringa. Cosmeceuticals, the cosmetic products which contain biologically active ingredients. Aloe vera is a very common example which we all know. But beyond that, there are many more which have emerged, which is providing us several options, not only national but international when it comes to developing business ventures. COVID has been a great teacher in many ways. We talked about boosting innate immunity. We are talking about prophylactic approach, using natural organic ingredients, food as a prophylactic medicine. We are more now looking at food as a medicine, not as a food only as giving us calories. Nutrition as a medicine. We should use the nutrition as a medicine. So what are the vitamin C's and B's and E's and K's? So we will be more focusing on them. See, one of the very common nutritive tablets the doctors dispensed in during this pandemic was a zinc tip. So we can think of developing products, plant-based products, which are rich in zinc. For instance, many of the seeds. So eating seeds of this cucumber, sunflower, and like this has become a part of our daily breakfast. One teaspoon of seeds, pure seeds, because they are rich in zinc. So nutrition as a medicine. Plant bioprospecting for antiviral ingredients. As a researcher, a lot of scope for searching and discovering more and more antivirals from plants. And of course, there has to be scientific validation of traditional therapies, herbal nutrition instead of herbal medicine. So we should be talking more about herbal nutrition. Why should we go? Because medicine has a negative connotation in many ways, because medicine comes when somebody falls sick. So emphasis now is on prophylactic medicine, where we are now saying that if our nutrition is right, then we may not need medicine. So the nutrition has to be more and more herbal based than synthetic based. And of course, this is all going to be increased demand for botanicals anticipated. Are we ready? Yes, this is a great question. Everybody, for all of us to introspect. Are we ready? Are we ready with this tremendous demand that is going to come in our way? And as per WHO, WHO is itself very different by 2030. And WHO and India, they are ushering in a change for people-centric system of traditional medicine. And they are doing it with a purpose. And what WHO has done, a 250 million WHO funded global center for traditional medicine has been established in Jamnagar. And it can make India as an international competitor with a surge in its medicinal exports and healing concepts. It may revolutionize the pharmaceutical industry and the way the world uses medicine. Because there was not much of an international effort to research and explore this traditional medicine in an organized way. And WHO has now come forward and set up this mission. And again, in the observation of this WHO, that they have found that they traditionally use herbal plants like giloy, tulsi, haldi, dalchini, and honey. They could counter the severity of the pandemic in several ways. So many of, if India has fared relatively better in compared to even many of the Western countries, it's because of our strength in these local traditions. And this WHO again during the pandemic has observed that the usage of various herbs met the global shortage of synthetic medicine. And the occurrence of such consumer preference was seen more in Asian regions. And again, the WHO observed that the alternative medicine people use created a curative system beyond their imagination. Even WHO was not imagining that we will be so well up with this tradition. So these are important international points being made about the traditional system of medicine, and which is only going to create more and more business potential for. Always for the last couple of years, whenever I deliver a talk on medicinal plants, I carry this slide with me. I always carry and share this slide with my audience, this is of course about Bhutan. And Bhutan, we all know, when it comes to happiness index, it's pitched at number 1 in happiness index. So as per the Bhutan, what are the parameters? Why they're the happiest country in the world? Because their gross national happiness depends on 5 factors. One is good governance, free healthcare, and source of employment. Another is preservation of traditional medical culture. Third is conservation of medicinal plants and environment. Fourth is socio-economic development. And fifth is biodiscovery and bioprospecting. So of the 5, most are related to the nature and natural medicine. And this is the secret of Bhutan, although it's a tiny country, but Bhutan being a very happy country. And it is very important for all of us to, when we are talking so much about medicinal plants, are we doing enough to manage and use sustainably these plants? Yes, I think I will skip this. This is a SWOT analysis. Friends, I have talked much about it. Now, coming to our area, the Himalayan areas, which should interest more the audience, that the Indian Himalayas, we have a very large altitude range from 200 to 8,000 meters altitude. And we have all these climatic systems, tropical, subtropical, temperate, subalpine, tundra, all these systems. And there are about 1,700 to 1,750 medicinal plants. And there are about 100 to 120 aromatic plant species in this region. And the RET medicinal plants are about 150, the rare, endangered, and threatened. And these are some of the species which are treated in high volumes, more than 100 tons per year, these Himalayan plants. And most of it is coming from wild culture. Now, we'll try to understand what is happening in the Himalayas when it comes to the commercializing of the business of the medicine. just in the symbolic representation of some species, but then that will contextualize the whole discussion, whole understanding. We all know crocus, saffron. We all know, especially people from Kashmir, being from Kashmir, the importance of saffron. And I will not go into the details. Everyone knows how saffron is important and what are the saffron products in country market and the international market, and the cultivation effort that goes. But what I am going to say here is that even saffron, the value addition is still not to the extent as per its potential. So the young people, young entrepreneurs should venture into value addition of crocus, not only the stigma, but the floral part as such, or any other part of the plant where they can find useful biomolecules, value addition, extract, or using them in the multiple ways, so that the prospects of business can be expanded in. Of course, we can understand that if the cultivation footprint of the species cannot be extended beyond a certain geographical region, but then the value addition opportunities are always there. Another species with which we are all familiar with, Rhododendron arboreum, Buranch. We all know the nutraceutical importance of this. But and if we go into this flower, the dried flower has separate. It can cater to a separate industry. The fresh flower can cater to a separate industry. So many possibilities are there just on one species. But how many products are in market? How much of an entrepreneurship is going now, especially from the hills? I know people will talk much about rhododendrons, their medicinal properties, all the potential, but not come forward and start some venture based on this rhododendron. Because whether you take its bark or leaves or flowers, full of these secondary metabolites, which are very nutraceutical, which are antioxidants, and these many others. This sea buckthorn, the dry temperate, the dry alpine region, sea buckthorn. We all know much about it, but we still don't have enough of the production market. Why? Because entrepreneurship, there is some difficulty with the entrepreneurship, but the species is waiting to be exploited the way it has been exploited in China or elsewhere. We had this lay some time, but it's still not disappeared from the market because they could not sustain its marketability. So whether the problem is in the scale or problem was their branding or their outreach, something happened, and the technology is so beautiful. Technology has been developed by DRDO. They are ready to share it with anyone who can come forward and start a fresh business. Now, then we have some plants. When we talk about medicinal plants, this Swarcha cerata. This Swarcha cerata has the bitterest compound, amaranthine, present. The bitterest natural substance known so far comes from the Swarcha cerata, and this is a plant of the temperate region. And this is the topmost 10 amongst topmost 10 Ayurvedic herbs which is used in different kinds of meals. Because it has anthelmintic properties, the hypoglycemic properties, antipyretic, and the blood purifying. It needs to be cultivated. It's not critically endangered species. It needs to be cultivated and value added and supplied, because most of the although we call it in trade, it is known as Chireta. The Chireta in market is not Swarcha cerata, but the Chireta in market is Androgasus penicillin, which is far inferior to Swarcha cerata. So it's just because the genuine Swarcha cerata is not coming to the market, and Ministry of Ayush is giving 75% subsidy on its cultivation. The technologies are available. The planting material can be made available. And the people have to come forward. And although on some limited scale in Himachal Pradesh, its cultivation has started, but the J&K is the virgin area as far as the cultivation is concerned. This is another valerian agitatum. And again, the rhizomes, these are natural sedatives. And they are used as tranquilizers, sedative analgesic, antipyretic, antibacterial, mild CNS depressant. And again, its situation is no far better than Suvarsha Teresa because there are regions in Himachal where people have started growing. But even that cultivation is not sufficient to meet the demand. And then after cultivation, the processing. This is rich in velicoprate and the oil, essential oil. And this essential oil needs to be extracted and commercialized as a national enterprise, in which has a demand. Okay, this is some of them. Picoraza kuru, this is endemic to these Indian Himalayas. And we all know this is a panacea for treating jaundice, a disease for which even the allopathy does not have any answer. And but this Picoraza kurwa, although in the state of Uttarakhand, there is large cultivation has already commenced. And most of the kutti that comes in market now is genuine kutti thanks to the efforts of farmers in Uttarakhand. But then this species is on a negative list of export. It cannot be exported outside India, the raw material. And then, there's an international demand for it. So its area only needs to be expanded as far as cultivation. And then there are many regions in this 2500 to 400 mean sea level belt where it can be grown where nothing else can grow, and it grows very well. If only thing is that it has the only effort that has to be made, it has to be planted in the first instance, and only then you will have to one will harvest it after 3 years to begin with. Then this is Nadu Stachys jetaman. India is an importer of Nadu Stachys jetaman, and this is critically endangered in certain pockets, and this is not restricted to very specific, very small area in Himachal Pradesh. And this needs to be taken out. We have done some work and developed some protocol. It needs to be taken out from that region and expanded. And it is so wonderful plant that its rhizomes can be used for treating insomnia, epilepsy, paralysis, heart palpitation, asthma, high blood pressure, fever, and anxiety, and of course incense, flavoring agent, and in quality perfumes. And India is an importer, and it imports from Nepal. And India is the biggest market for Nadu Stachys. This is many of you would be familiar with this. Angelica Guluka, Chora, lot of demand as a flavoring and culinary agent. And there are, of course, other users, dyspepsia, flatulence, anorexia, rheumatism. But then mostly as a food flavoring agent, that's very important, needs to be grown on a larger scale because again there is a lot of demand. And again, Government of India is giving 75% subsidy on its cultivation. We all know, many of you who would be working on medicinal plants, Aconitum heterophyllum. Now, thanks to the efforts of Ministry of Ayush and many farmers and the technologies developed by different business institutions, many areas in Himachal and Uttarakhand and some parts in Kashmir also, its cultivation footprint has increased. And we are slightly in a better position than before. But then again, it is still not as per the demand. And there are some varieties, strains which have been developed, and where the number the rootstock biomass is also different. So the right kind of strain clone has to be multiplied. Of course, this is a gloriosa superba, although it is a subtropical species, and there are some areas in hills which are subtropical. This is most appropriate for those regions. And this is the seeds are the source of colchicine, which is an SOS kind of a medicine for treating diseases like gout. And of course, some regions in Tamil Nadu are the major source of its cultivation. But sporadic cultivation has started in some parts of Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, and then Himachal Pradesh, the lower belt especially, with the close valleys. And we have developed certain techniques how to increase its output, especially because the usable part here is the seed, and how the seed output can be increased. And 50% subsidy is still being provided for its cultivation. And again, lots of demand from national but international. And since now the technologies are available, its growing will not be a challenge. Seed production and processing the seed for colchicine extraction, there are not many players still. It is still the seed is being exported to countries like Germany, France, and Italy currently. But then, of course, there's a company in Delhi which has started colchicine extraction, but that is on a very limited scale. So entrepreneurship is expected here. Mucuna pruriens, L-DOPA, source of L-DOPA, and the treatment for treating Parkinson's disease. And this is a plant which this is a species which we don't need to grow as an orchard, but it can be grown as a vine on already existing trees. And this is not only going to supplement income, but also going to meet the demand. There's tremendous demand again from the health industry and those of the companies which are into L-DOPA extraction, because this is the commercial source of L-DOPA. And there are two varieties, black and white. The white has, of course, lesser L-DOPA content, but the production is much more than the black type. So those who are already have an orchard or plantation can raise these vines on those trees and harvest additional revenue. Now, of course, whether we are in hills or in the plains, the exotic species has to be an important component of any biodiversity business. Stevia arboreana, a zero-calorie sweetener, holds a lot of potential in Kashmir and some mid-hills and lower mid-hills region, because it's the source of stevoside and riboside, which is 150 to 350 times more sweeter than sucrose, the sugar, and without any side effects of sugar. So even diabetics can also take it. And many of the sweets that come in at the Diwali time and the festival time, many come with sugar from this species. They taste sweet, but don't bring those extra calories or harvested with diabetics. So it's a species waiting to be expanded in different climatic regions. So there's some data I'm not going to discuss here. Echinacea purpurea. This came into being in prominence during again this pandemic, because these are very few established plants worldwide which have these antiviral properties, established antiviral properties. And this species is of course exotic, but this is the amongst the top 10 herbals traded in USA. And this has the roots have antiviral property, especially the respiratory virus, especially they can manage these respiratory viruses. So this has come into much more prominence because in our search for antiviral plants with antivirals, especially for combating respiratory viruses, this Echinacea purpurea holds a lot of promise, and we'll be hearing much more about this species in times to come. And there are so many advantages. There are already some products in market, Super Echinacea, Echinacea Acerola value, etc. And this is how it grows, and grows very well and can grow much better than it shows. And it is a perennial, very easy to grow. In a very short time, one can get a good yield. And then, of course, aromatic plants. We cannot be we cannot be silent about aromatic plants and we talk about medicinal plants, wild marigolds, Aegis minuta. This I'm saying because India is still importing it, and CSIR and other major organizations have taken it as a part of their aroma mission. So they are bringing more and more areas under its production. And growing this is very easy. It's just a 4 or 5 month crop, and it can grow on wasteland. Does not require much of an fertilizer input or extra. And these are its oil has antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, insecticidal, and nematicidal. So it has both human value as well as a value in agriculture because of its nematicidal activity. And the biggest advantage is that it is least impacted by vermin, monkeys. The hill agriculture in Himachal I have seen in the last 3 decades is severely impacted by vermin. The monkeys, they come and destroy agricultural fields. And there are many areas where farmers have given up agriculture because they are just not able to manage these monkey men. So they are all looking for crops which are least attracted to these vermin, especially monkeys. And this is one of the prominent species where it can fit those areas. And this is what we have done. We have technology. Lavender, Kashmir, the story of lavender basically started from Kashmir in 60s and 70s. But the commercial cultivation has now got another. And now we are looking at not only national but better international. This is a picture from Kashmir where people are doing very well as far as lavender. So again, entrepreneurship opportunities. These are important to be on. Not talk about it. Rosa damascena, again, is an evergreen aromatic plant, the costliest aromatic plant, and the most costliest aromatic plant so far, valued about 5 to 7 lakh rupees per liter. The oil of this. And it's waiting to happen. This revolution is waiting to happen in Kashmir. And there are areas where this is being introduced, but then this area needs to be increased in a much bigger way because the supplies are so deficient. Rosemary, originally it came as a species which was part of the best French perfumes, UV clone and other things. But recent time, there has been an important findings that have come that it has sulfonic acid which can fight off damage by free radicals in the brain. So it has emerging as a very important essential oil for preventing brain aging. And also the therapeutical ability of rosemary for prevention of Alzheimer's has shown. And this is now coming into more and more focus day by day. And even the studies are saying just by sniffing rosemary oil, many of its brain aging, preventing brain aging or preventing Alzheimer's can be corrected. So, growing rosemary and extracting the oil from rosemary becomes an entrepreneurship and providing it to the market, because we make truthful oil. Is what the market is expecting, and has lots of entrepreneurship opportunities in there. Those of this plant. And all of you, those who are interested in this medicinal plant, should download this app eChark. This is the virtual marketplace for medicinal plants. This eChark is a Google Play from Google Store you can download. This is a very important source of commercial information. That what material is available, where it is available, which farmer has it, and if you want to sell it, you can also sell. If you want to buy anything, you can buy, and it can give you so many important information, the current information about the medicine. So every one of you should have. Go through this, and you will come to know with this. This medicinal plant board has set up regional centers in different regions. We have a regional center for North also set up, and one can interact with them and find out the possibilities of venturing into this sector. And then the voluntary certification of raw materials. See, currently India does not have a mandatory certification of raw materials, but one can always go for voluntary certification of raw materials for good agriculture practices and collection. So they are in place. So one can, if you want to add quality, another way of adding quality, adding value to your own product is getting a certification for your raw material or for your process or for your product, so that that can give the entrepreneurs access to better markets with better returns. Then, of course, what I have been talking about, this 75%, 50%, and 30% subsidy. There's a list of about 120 species where these subsidies are available for conservation. So one only needs to decide which species to go for, and there's a formality, of course. Now, here I would conclude, and my conclusion whenever I talk to an audience like this and with the topics which I have chosen, I always say my conclusion is a challenge. The conclusion is a challenge, because there's nothing we can say one must do this and one must not do this, because this is a challenge to you, challenge to me, challenge to everyone. Because if medicinal plants are to continue to provide health and happiness without being reduced to dangerously unstable resource base, they have to be considered in perspective of sound ecological management that also has economic benefits to them. And our approach to conserve and utilize biodiversity should be targeted from improving living standards to changing the attitude. The way we look at plants, we only don't have to talk, we have to do, take a step forward. And this probably was a motivation for me, because after spending more than 35 years in this sector, and when probably I could have retired into an easy life, I thought we should, I have always talked about business potential, commercialization, entrepreneurship. Why shouldn't I be an entrepreneur at myself? And let me test the challenges, check the challenges, and then provide a solution. And that is how I have my own company. I'm venturing into all these aspects, and I don't know how future will tell me, but then one has to make a try. And my acknowledgements to the institutions, folks, University of Kashmir has been my alma mater. Whatever I do and known for, basically, that the fundamentals have been provided by my alma mater, to which I will always remain indebted. And then funding agencies, various funding agencies that I have worked, the collaborations that I have been worked, and then my students and my faculty colleagues, they have all contributed to this. And this is the last slide, and this is the flowers of Matricaria chamomile, German chamomile. We had heard about German chamomile, but now we know that this is changing the tea scenario of our country. This is now becoming more and more popular as a tea. And if any of you has tasted it, taken its tea, or if he does not have, please taste it. This is so calming, so good at tea that you will forget the tea taken from Camellia sinensis leaves. And with this, thanks for your patient hearing, and I am now open for discussion. Thank you very much for giving me so much time. So I'll unshare and
have delivered before us, before our research scholars, and we are here to learn a lot about the medicinal plants. Actually, we all and almost everybody is familiar with the quality of the medicinal plants, and we have utilized at one time or several times the medicinal plants. In fact, from the very childhood, my father told me that this tirfla is very important medicine which can be utilized for avoiding almost 80% of the problems of the human being related to their ailments, their diseases. Whatever was his experience, he told that no, it was written in a book, Ilajul Ghurba. So from my early time, I was utilizing that tirfala sometime very often, just for the instructions of my father and all. But I came to know when I was doing the work on the Vaniki glossary, forestry glossary in Ministry of Environment, and Professor Paliwal from Delhi University, he was also there. So we were facing the problem of the eyesight, and we were seeing the books, we were reading the books from doing the distance adjustment. So Professor Paliwal, who has crossed the age of 70 years, he was very nice, and without any respect, he was seeing all the things. Later on, he told us that tirfla is the best medicine for the eyes and also for the stomach.
Tirfala water.
Yeah. Tirfala had harra, bahira, and amla. All these came from the forestry sector. So I've used that one, and that is very nice. And now I'm sitting here attaining the age of 62, and I have no problem. No doubt that these medicines are very useful, and they are giving wonderful results. Results beyond the results of the allopathic medicines, like the antibiotics. And also I have seen that the Joshina, which is the Hamdard product, and totally the Ayurvedic medicine, is far better than any other medicine in the respiratory problem. I have also my personal experience. Similarly, the leaf 52 is as famous as no other allopathic medicine, and it is being widely used all over the world. And many claims were raised against the leaf 52, and the leaf 52 has always proved that no, it is totally 100%. It is the Ayurvedic medicine. Similarly, I have also the experience of the Nux vomica Kuchla, which has been prepared in the form of the homeopathic medicine, and that is the excellent medicine. for the gastric problem. I have not seen the results even of the metronidazole and other medicine in the gastric problem, in the stomach problem in allopathy. No comparison of the Nux vomica. Similarly, barberries, lycopodium, and so many medicines which have been prepared by the homeopathic from taking the extract of the medicinal plant. Thank you, sir. You have given us the real knowledge about the Safed Musli and about the Ashwagandha, about the even Terminalia Arjuna, that is the ingredient of Ashokarist. And you have also given us the real knowledge about the market. What is the market and what is the demand of these medicinal plants? So we all are very much thankful to you for such knowledgeable talk, for such knowledgeable information about the medicinal plant and the future of the medicinal plant and future of the cultivation of the medicinal plant, and how can we convert it as a future entrepreneur. Really, there are a lot of aspects for doing the work on the medicinal plant. One of the aspect is very important, and that is free from the insecticide and free from the other use of the harmful insecticides and pesticides. We should prepare to harvest the organic farming of the medicinal plants. And also there is the subject of the harvesting, sustainable harvesting from the forestry area. This question has been raised several times, and it is the very important question that from forestry sector we are extracting the medicinal plants. Before joining this university, I was there in FRI, Dehradun, Forest Research Institute, Dehradun. So I was there head of entomology division, and later on the entomology and pathology both division of forest protection. So many a times we have discussed that we should have the cultivation of the medicinal plants free from the use of the fungicide, free from the use of insecticide. And that is also very important. And moreover, the Safed Musli, Kalihari and others, we raised a lot at tropical forest institutes and other institutes of the FRI. So, Raina Sahab, once again, I'm very thankful that you have revived the subject for me, and you have given the information, such valuable information to all our faculty members and to all the research scholars who will be the future entrepreneur and future cultivars of the these medicinal plant, who will look into the cultivation of the medicinal plants in the future. And so on behalf of all of us, I'm very thankful to you. Now, at the end, I would like to take a few questions. If any question from anybody from here, from this conference hall, and also from the others who are joining online, please, if you have any question.
Yes, please.
Please.
Mic on.
Good morning, sir. Sir, I am Dr. Sajad, Assistant Professor in the Department of Botany. I would like to ask one question to Professor Ravinder, sir. Sir, it is related to high altitude medicinal or herbal gardens. In Himachal Pradesh, there have been development of high altitude herbal gardens. Why our state JNK has not been developing this concept, particularly? So what are the reasons and how we can develop in our state so that medicinal plants can be cultivated on large scale?
I mean, this is the answer to this question is more management oriented than technical, because nothing would prevent establishing an high altitude medicinal plant in any part of the country. The advantage with Himachal Pradesh was probably the university I served for almost 30 years, Dr. Y.S. Parmar University, had research station in each and every agroclimatic region of the state. It is about 13, 14 outstations situated in the alpine to the lower altitude region. And this was the mandate of every station that they have to develop an herbal garden of the local flora at each and every location. Of course, we being at the main campus, we would support them with the seed material, planting material, and the technology, but it was made a mandate. So basically, it is the university which took it on ourselves that wherever we have a presence, the field presence, we will have a part of the corner would be under medicinal plant, and that is how we are providing an familiarity demonstration to the local farmers. Number one, and we also conduct the localized training there, and many of our studies are region based, climate based, and that is why many of the things very quickly go to the farmers. So I think it has to do with the structure, because the universities wherever they have, because only universities have the kind of academia which is required for setting up an herbal garden. Herbal garden has to be specific with which kind of plant should be there, and especially with J&K, Himachal, Uttarakhand, we can have a network where there can be exchange of the material, and there should have been this mechanism earlier also. I think it is a policy which is important. Nothing prevents nobody from setting up a herbal garden anywhere. And of course, this is done very well when it comes to success story of herbal garden as far as commercialization in Uttarakhand and Himachal. That is for sure. We have underlined this.
Thank you, sir. Any more question? The question from research scholars. Any research scholar, please, online persons who are.
Don't be shy. Don't feel shy in asking questions.
Yeah. Don't be shy for asking any question. Professor Raina sir is ready.
Language is open. You can ask in Kashmiri also.
Yeah, please.
हाँ, बोलो बच्चों बोलो, पूछो.
Raina sir, which medicinal plant is now in demand?
There are many.
In demand, which they can select for the future work, for the future growing and developing the crop.
See, it all depends upon the region where they belong to, because even
Kashmir region,
I think they should focus on this Valeriana, Jatamansi one. If they can go to a higher altitude, Nadostechis Jatamansi, the Nadostechis grandiflora, and then of course Withania they cannot do much because Kashmir is
Withania somnifera.
Kashmir. But then as far as a purely commercial, I think there's a lot of scope for stevia.
Podophyllum.
Calorie, because stevia, we are still getting stevia from China, and especially the lower altitude of the Kashmir region. India is the best place. See, the greatest advantage, the greatest factor in successful stevia cultivation is that the roots of stevia should have moist soil, but there should be no waterlogging. If you are able to, the Kashmir, the undulating slopes and the slopes of Kashmir Valley are natural in that they have a natural drainage, so the water will never accumulate, and then the soil remains always moist. So, I would build as a current favorite. Number one. Number two, they can start with the aromatics, lavender, Bulgarian rose, Rosa damascena, and Tagetes minuta. Very easy to grow. Very easy to grow. They have set up a processing unit that can be on cooperative basis or whatever it is. But then you will never face any marketing issue.
So marketing facility is available in nearby.
See, the today's context when we have to be our own marketing. Now, gone are the days that I would grow it as a herb. As an entrepreneur, I don't have to grow it only, I have to value add also. So if I am growing, say, Bulgarian rose aromatic plant, I have to extract its oil first, number one. Number two, then I don't have to sell it in kilo quantity. Just मेरे पास 40 liter है, so we will have 40 liters and try to sell it. No, that way I'm not going to make money. See, slowly and gradually, as the awareness is increasing, as the economies are growing, as the purchasing power of the people is increasing, there is more and more demand for pure oil as aroma is concerned, aromatic oil. So instead of marketing, say, Bulgarian oil or rosemary oil or geranium oil as in bulk, small vials with a roll-on where I can use on myself or anywhere, that is going to fetch much more money. So one will have to adopt a marketing strategy. If you have a licensing, if you have a partner who can further value add on the oil, then the returns become much more better. So marketing has to be better. Like we talk about stevia. If you grow stevia, we don't have to sell stevia leaves. We have to extract stereoside from it. We have to extract riboside from it and then use it in multiple ways. Just like I referred to that during Diwali and many of the festivals, most of the sweets that are sold in market are sweetened by these extracts. So they cannot use stevia leaves, but they can always use the stevia extract. So the entrepreneur who would like to go into stevia cultivation should have a small processing unit also with it, so that can immediately process the stevia, which will give many more times returns to that entrepreneur. So herbal, see, many times when I am in some committee meeting, I am pressing hard for people to accept that this growing of medicinal plants has not to be like any other agriculture. It should not be taken at par with growing wheat, rice, paddy, and etc. It should be taken as an industrial activity. So if I am growing some medicinal plant, basically I am growing a raw material for my industry. My industry cannot function without the raw material, so I go to the field and grow stevia herb, for instance, but then that stevia herb has to go to an industry, a processing industry, where they can further refine. So it should be taken as an industrial activity. So the entrepreneurship also has to be taken in that perspective, that we have to think and strategize in an entrepreneurship way, not in the just chalta hai. That is how one is going to do, because money, business is very important. The success of my idea, thought, venture will be good only will depend upon the kind of money I am going to get back.
Well, Professor Raina, for some of the plants, CSIR IIIM is helping large number of farmers here for the management practices as well as for marketing as well.
Yes.
So many people have gone into this venture. But we need to have more and more people should go into this venture, because everybody is not aware of its fruitful results, and how to cultivate, how to manage. There are many things. So there should be basically many programs regarding cultivation and management practices and marketing linkages that they should know where to go afterwards.
Definitely.
They don't know. But in this regard, CSI Triple Line is doing some work. But this needs to be taken up at a very large scale.
Effort needs to be scaled up. I do agree, because there's always a limited effort that they can make, because everybody, there's a manpower crunch and there are so many issues involved. But then people like you and me, we can be force multiplied, where we can reach to those regions. We can try to handhold some people, because if you want to do it at a kind of address this issue in a structured way, that you select a block and select some of the farmers and make them as nodal farmers in that region, and then create a business opportunity for them. And that business opportunity, definitely the surrounding farmers and neighbors, people are copycat. They are definitely going to copy their venture. And then FPOs, making these farmer producer groups or cooperatives, is doing very well wherever they have been honestly made. And because then through these farmers product cooperative societies, many people are further again joining these farmer producer companies, and the footprint is expanding. There are many successful. I know in Jharkhand, this model is working very well. The only thing is the effort and the intention. It's a two-way process. I should also be honest. The person getting training should also be honest, because it's my next understand. There should be a clear intention to do something. If your intention is right, honest, genuine, only then we can make a success.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for giving the valuable information, valuable suggestions, and for guiding our research scholars and our faculties for the future entrepreneurship and other aspects of the medicinal plant. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, Worthy Dean, sir, for being the chairperson of the session, also given the brief overview of the medicinal plants and their importance in the Himalayas. Sir, your views on the use of medicinal plants in the traditional system medicine has made very addition to this lecture. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request Dr. Shaista Shah for formal vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone, and assalamu alaikum to all. Thank you is such a prayer. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible? Okay. Thank you is such a prayer that cannot be seen or touched, so it must be felt by heart. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. I, on behalf of organizing committee, Department of Botany, and the entire fraternity of the School of Life Sciences, first of all, extend my most sincere gratitude to our Chief Guest, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Herbal Cosmetics, who spared his valuable time from his busy schedule to grace the occasion. I am immensely thankful to our worthy registrar, Professor Muhammad Afzal Zargar, for his unconditional support and guidance for the Department of Botany. Thank you so much, sir, for attending this event. I also extend thanks and gratitude to our guest speaker, Professor Ravinder Raina, for enlightening us with his words of wisdom and accepting our invitation on a very short notice. Sir, this lecture really has practical importance and applicability for the future business development in India. I hope our young buds have got inspired by this thrilled and inspired lecture. My sincere gratitude also goes to our mentors, Chairman Professor Muhammad Yusuf, Dean School of Life Sciences, Convener Professor Azadi Kamali, Nodal Person, Department of Botany, CUK, and Head Department of Botany, Dr. Abid Hamidar, Director Science Campus, who were instrumental in organizing this lecture. I'm short of words for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zones. My heartfelt thanks to our organizing secretary, Dr. Rafiq Loan, for his untiring efforts and involvement in this event. With a deep sense of appreciation, I thank all the organizing members of the Department of Botany who put their best efforts in making this event a success, and the other faculty members of the School of Life Sciences. I would also like to thank the people who worked behind the scene to make this event happen. Special gratitude goes to the estate section, PRO, purchase section, ITSS, and the other different sections of the university who directly or indirectly have contributed in organizing this event. It has been our pleasure to host all the participants of the lecture, both online and offline. So I would like to thank all the participants for making this event successful by their presence. Thanks to all the people who directly, indirectly helped to make the function possible and to whom by name I could not mention. So with these words, I would like to end the session here. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Dr. Kaistasha, for the formal vote of thanks. Now with the permission of chair, shall we sign off, sir? Okay, thank you so much.
All the best, Professor Ravinder Raina. Thank you. Thank you.